Hello, my name is Paul Rang. I am a compositor in the VFX industry and also a content creator at Foundry. Today I'm going to show you how to key in Nuke. Keying is a process that allows you to cut out characters from green screen plates in order to change the background. In this case we have this for our background. We want to cut out the character and put it in front of the new backplate. Here we can see the final result with our character integrated into the scene. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you step by step how you can do this. Whatever plate you have, this tutorial will enable you to fix multiple issues that you might come up with. I'm also going to leave you with this script that you can use as a template each time you need to key. Let's start with a basic overview on how to key by looking at my template. This is the template I use for every blue screen or green screen that I key when I work in the industry. So first things first, you'll start by prepping the plate. The first step is degraining. So degraining is essentially removing the grain that you have in your plate. And you can see here, if I come down in the viewer slide, press play and zoom in, this is what the grain looks like. Whenever you film or shoot a movie, there will always be grain, and most of the time when working in a studio, we'll remove the noise, then make all the modifications we need to do in our comp, and then restore the original noise from the plate at the end. Although you don't always need to remove the grain depending on the type of comp you're doing. Denoising helps with many compositing tasks, improves keying accuracy by reducing noise interference, resulting in cleaner edges and finer details, but also when you make modifications in compositing, you might blur the image, distort it, etc, and that will get rid of the noise. Another instance of why it's useful is when we add different elements into a comp. The noise might not match between elements. Denoising and then restoring the grain at the end is a way to ensure all our comp elements match grain-wise. When regraining at the end, we always try to keep as much of the original grain as possible. Most of the time we match all the elements of our comp to a grain in our background footage, but this can vary from shot to shot and what we are doing in it. In this case, our background is just a nice stock image and doesn't have any grain. So we're going to match our grain to a foreground footage. Another thing we do is remove tracking markers or any unwanted elements from the footage. Tracking markers are used to match the movement of elements in a shot when adding new elements. This can be achieved through camera tracking, creating a digital camera that replicates the on-set camera movement, or using 2D tracking methods like planar tracker or point tracker, among others. So that's why tracking markers are there, but we obviously don't want the tracking markers to interfere with our keying, so we'll remove them in prep. Alfie Vaughan has made a tutorial on our Learn Foundry page about removing elements. I have left a link in the template so you can find it there. So last but not least, in the prepping of the plates, we have a screen clean. So this is used a lot when we have bad green or blue screens where you have a lot of creases or different lighting variations, or even unwanted elements which are going to interfere with keying. So here, this gives us a good example of what you would get when you don't screen clean. Most of the time when you work in a studio, you will get good green screen shots, but every now and then you'll at some point get a bad green screen, and you need to know what to do in this situation. So if you have a look at our setup, this is our green screen before our screen clean. And this is what it looks like afterwards. As you can see, this has helped tremendously, and now if you key it, it'll be practically perfect. Next we have everything to do with keying. So keying is used to cut out elements of a green screen plate that we want to keep by creating a matte in the alpha channel. So this is what the alpha is going to look like. You can view it by pressing A when hovering over the viewer window. So we've got three different sections in our keying. We've got the garbage matte, the core key, and the edge key. The edge key is essentially our softest key, so this one takes care of all the fine details, the hairs and the edges of the character. It's going to have the smoothest edge and give us the most accurate shape which corresponds with our real life plate. The downside is we're also getting a lot of transparency issues in the middle of our character, but we can fix this using a core key. The core key is a much more opaque key, but the downside is the edges are also quite harsh and they're not accurate, and for hair detail it does a pretty bad job, but it will fill in the holes and transparent areas in our edge key, so this is why we use it. The core key is shrunk down and blurred and then added back on top. Lastly, we have the garbage mat. So as you can see here, we've still got all these unwanted elements around our key. The garbage mat is essentially the core key, but it's inverted and then expanded out and then removed from the key. This is what it looks like with and without. It's removing all the excess elements from the key. So now we're going to talk about the despill section. So this section takes care of getting rid of all the green spill on a character. So what is green spill? So it's basically all the green hue that's left over. So if we look at our pre-mult here, then we deactivate all the elements of our despill, we can see we've got a horrible green edge that's left. So the key light node has a despill built in, which helps us get rid of that. And then we have the grading section. So this section takes care of 2D integration. So let's turn it off for now and look at the final results. So if we look at our final result, we can see that our character is not matching entirely with the plate. So we'd use a grade node to match it to the plate. Then we have a final section of our keying template, and it's the additive keyer section. So when we've done a key, sometimes the key isn't able to retrieve all those small fine details on the hair. So we'll resort to the additive keyer here to bring back those details. So what it does is it multiplies our screen cleaned green screen on top of our plate in order to give the illusion that we've retrieved all this hair from the key. So if you look at it before and after, we can now see it's bringing back all that fine detail. When you have a character with a lot of hair, this really gives a dramatic improvement to the key, so this is absolutely essential. Then, as we've seen before, we have the regraining section. So this is getting back the grain from the original footage and bringing it back. And that completes our overview on how to key.